Hello, guys and ladies. This is the lecture video for Environmental Science, Unit 2, Section 1. Unit 2, we're going to start talking about sustainability and what humans have done to impact the environment around us, as well as some things that we're doing. This is going to introduce a lot of topics that we will continue to talk about throughout the year. And Unit 1 and Section 1 of this unit is going to give us the kind of stepping stones we will use for the rest of the unit. As always, on my slides, there is a link to the vocab in the lower left-hand side of this. So let's get started. All right, so today's learning goal is how can we maintain sustainability? And I want us to read this in two different ways. How can we as in humanity maintain sustainability, and how can we personally, you and I, maintain sustainability? Because it's going to take both of those for real changes to happen. So what is sustainability? Sustainability is talking about meeting the needs of humanity as a whole while protecting natural environments. So this means we need to fulfill those it's really 5 or 6, depending on how you word it, main things that humans need, right? We need food and water, we need air, we need shelter, and we need sleep. Without any of those, your health starts to deteriorate and you eventually die, right? Time without air, 3 minutes, you start to have some really big problems. Time without shelter, you can last longer, but eventually you will probably succumb to the elements, especially if you live here in Ohio. It's going to get real cold in the winter, right? But a week without sleep and you're going to start to see some very detrimental problems with your health. So a way that we're going to talk about this is looking at ecological footprint. An ecological footprint is a tool that mainly scientists will use, but it is starting to pick up use with everyday people that aren't scientists and those that are looking at environmental problems, right? And it's looking at the amount of resources, usually in land, scaled from miles, square miles, or acres, all the way up to earths, right? And it's to fill all 5 or 6 basic needs and to absorb the associated waste that comes with them. What do I mean by waste here? I mean the extra stuff that is made when we process foods or make housing or keep up with some of the things that civilization requires, like streets and transportation. Also talking about body waste, right? What you flush down the toilet has to go somewhere, right? There's a video and a footprint calculator that are going to get posted to the LMS. I want you guys to watch and do. You'll see those after this assignment, or after this video, probably within a day or two. It might even be the same day. Another thing we look at with regard to ecological footprint is biocapacity. Biocapacity is how many people can be supported by a certain amount of land. So it's kind of the reverse of ecological footprint. Ecological footprint, we're looking at the amount of land needed for one person or a civilization. This is the opposite. This is how many people could be supported by a given amount of land. And you can kind of compare these two. The footprint calculator exercise you will do looks at your footprint in particular, or your family's footprint, and how that compares to the US. And it's got a little bit better data than I have for this video because my stuff's a little dated because they have better resources than I do for free on the internet. So if we want to look at the Ohio State University's ecological footprint, a research study was done on this in 2007, and it found that all of the materials and all the people and all the activities done by the Ohio State University over the course of a year, to support that much, you would need about 1/12 of the total land in the state of Ohio, which is a lot of land. And this includes feeding students and employee meals that are provided on campus dorms. So those who live in the dormitories there all the electricity used on campuses, all the water that's used on campuses, including watering plants and gardens and going down the toilet when toilets are flushed. Work vehicles also factor into this. If you are a commuter, they had an estimate that took into account the average commute time for a student or employee, as well as the vehicles that were actually owned by the university itself. And one of the breakdowns that you can look at as part of an ecological footprint is something that looks like this pie chart on the right side of the slide. This is a percentage breakdown of where all this is taking into account. So energy use is electrical and like how much it takes to keep the lights on effectively, and like the projectors in the classrooms as well as in the dorms, like your Xbox or your PlayStation, TVs, everything. It for energy. That's 23%. Waste. So this is trash and human waste. Only made up 4% of the problem. The vehicles used on campus, as well as the vehicles used to commute to and from campus, made up a 73% of the ecological footprint of the university. That's a lot. So, one of the things that OSU has done since 2007 is moved from diesel or unleaded gasoline to vehicles that run either on natural gas or propane, and they even have some electric vehicles as well. Energy consumption has been cut since 2007 on the campus by switching from fluorescent light bulbs to compact fluorescent light bulbs or LED lighting, as well as they've been replacing a lot of their infrastructure with higher efficiency materials. And a few of the new buildings have what's called passive heating or passive air conditioning, where the architecture of the building is actually made to facilitate, to make easier warming it up in the winter and cooling it down in the summer. More natural light is being used in buildings so that they don't have to use as much electricity. And low flush toilets that use less water have been added for the bathrooms across a lot of the campus and including the stadium, the horseshoe. They also have looked into recycling programs. I know that they do some food waste recycling as well. All right. If we scale this up to the United States, there was a study done back in 2016, and if we look at the ecological footprint for all of the U.S., you get 8.1 gigahectares of land. A gigahectare is 100 billion acres, right? That's how many zeros there are. You can count them if you want to. Of use. The biocapacity for the U.S., however, is only 3.65 gigahectares of land. So the difference there is 4.5 gigahectares. So it's over 100% difference, right? 3.65 doubled is 7.3. So not quite 8.1 still. So over 100% difference. So the United States is using much more resources than it's making or producing. This is a bad thing, right? And we'll continue talking about why that's a bad thing or how they could be changed. So ways that you personally can control your ecological footprint, because the easiest way to make large scale changes is by a lot of people doing small changes to their everyday lives. We will continue talking about the larger changes that could happen throughout this unit, and we'll start talking about some of that stuff next lesson. So reducing the use of single-use or disposable plastics. Anything that you use once and throw away, Ziploc bags are a big one here. Either reusing them or replacing them with glass containers or multi-use plastic containers is a big way to lower your ecological footprint. Switching to renewable energy isn't something that you can just do, But if you are in a place which is not Ohio, you may be able to choose which energy provider you have, and using favoring one that uses renewable energy like wind energy or solar energy or nuclear energy, which is technically renewable, can have a large impact because we're not burning fuel to produce electricity. That fuel being coal usually. Production of meat requires a lot of water. So if you're using less meat in your weekly diet, you're not going to be requiring as much water resources for your food. Meat also takes up a lot of land because the cows have to graze. You have to have room for pigs and chickens to roam and live. So all of that gets reduced if you're eating less meat. I'm not saying don't eat meat. I love a good steak. I'm just saying less of it. Reducing the actual trash you throw away is a big one. So buying materials that produce less trash is a good thing. Things that aren't individually wrapped or things that don't have 6 different layers to them before you get to the product. If your community has a recycling program, using it and using it correctly. Make sure you're separating the metals from the plastics and papers. Or if they want you to throw everything in the same bin, make sure that they are the correct types of recycling for your recycling programs. You could also collect your recycling and drive to a recycling center. There are a few around Columbus. Reducing water waste is pretty easy. Don't leave the water running when you brush your teeth. Take shorter showers. Shower instead of a bath. Using a toilet with a low flush system in it. Um, all of these are great ways to reduce your water waste. You don't have to water your garden every day with a lot of water. So making sure you're using the correct amount of water for your garden or your lawn. Driving less doesn't just mean don't drive as far, but commute with other people. Use public transportation. In Columbus, at least, COTA, the Central Ohio Transport Authority, those buses you see everywhere, use propane and natural gas instead of diesel, which is a cleaner fuel. It is not renewable, but is cleaner, so it has a less impact on the environment. Also has better miles per gallon. If you are all going to the same place, you could carpool with each other or ride share. Buying local products means that those products don't have to be transported across the country. I love Amazon. It's great. It means I don't have to go to Walmart every 4 days when I realize I need something. I can just order it and it shows up at my door. I love Amazon and every other place that lets me not have to go to stores. But that transportation has a large impact on the environment because remember, if it is being driven across country, that means it's using fuel. Even if a semi truck is carrying 1,000 of a certain product, it's still adding up. And so if you're buying local, you're supporting small businesses that are close by and keeping the revenue close instead of landing in a big corporate pocket. You're also meaning that you are having a smaller impact on the overall environment. All right, so today's learning goal was how can we maintain sustainability? We mainly looked at that personally, right? We just went over all of these. They would be a good thing to memorize as you're starting to study. We're not going to have a test on this for a while. Like it's going to be 4 or 5 weeks, hopefully. But you need to start spending time every day making sure you've got the material down, right? Again, don't spend more than an hour on my class a day. And if you are, let me know. I don't want to be scheduling a whole lot of work for you guys, but I am shooting for 45 minutes now of work per day. Have a good afternoon or morning or evening whenever you're watching this video, and send me an email if you have any questions. Thank you.